Okay, Libra, as promised, I'm just doing another quick read. This will be for September, and this is 2023. So what I'm seeing here is there is definitely a challenge in September. You will be encountering, looks to be on the family front, looks to be that there is going to be a conquering energy, meaning that you are going to come out on top despite the big challenge here. I won't say that this is a challenge, meaning it's uprooting you in any way to the point where you're not able to manage it, but it is causing you a lot of serious anguish in a long-term relationship, because that Hierophant is that relationship that is quite significant in your life. So again, however that impacts you or however that speaks to you, you're all on a different timeline. So again, it may not resonate for you all specifically within a day or 2 week period or a month. Some of that energy may be trailing out, but again, it's still that residual energy, still fairly significant, because there are a lot of swords here, and it definitely looks as though there is some kind of argumentative conflict for sure around a significant relationship that you have been in for some time. So this can be, as I say, a relationship in terms of love, can be a relationship in terms of something more familial, but it is something that's fairly close to you, because I do see Ten of Pentacles energy coming up here, and a lot of energy still where there's been a burden over some issue here in September. So we'll just kind of dive right in here. But again, it does end on a more successful note. Certainly you do have the Wheel of Fortune that is following the Chariot card. So there is kind of that conquering, successful energy. There's a direction chosen here, and it looks like you've sort of taken the high road either way. So to get into the Knight of Swords, I would say, again, this is more somebody who's taking action to kind of direct the conversation, or at least bring something to light. It's sort of it's a movement energy. So there is a conflict that is going on here that seems to be not just a war of words. I would say this even has more to do with, more of somebody's taking action, or there's some kind of movement that is associated with this King of Swords energy. So again, it can also represent someone in authority that is somehow coming in here and influencing the situation, that kind of thing. But because the main energy out here is a Knight of Swords, I would say that this is energy that's still around something that is fairly motivated. Someone's quite motivated in a particular area to to bring something about. They're motivated to get their way, I guess, is really what I would say there. So communication, like I said, is definitely at a bit of a standstill here, because there's a lot of competitive kind of energy here and sly behavior. There's conflict. There's a lot of worry around this situation here as well. So my advice would be, look for some things before September occurs that's going to help you to relieve or remove yourself from situations of conflict. Definitely, don't let things overwhelm you, whether this is your goals or however. But I don't see anything like job loss necessarily, anything like that. It seems to be more around a connection that is creating some kind of scenario that is looking to be out of your control, or it feels as though it's out of your control because of this war of words and this, level of, this level of, it's not like a conflict, of course, is aggression, but it's not like physical aggression. It seems to be more verbal attacks or verbal impatience with a situation, impatient with something not coming through, which is causing an issue here. And again, when we're looking at the Hierophant, this is, it's an impatience on a level of something of high value to you, as well as, again, for others, this could be more specific to a relationship. Again, we do have the 10 of Wands, so I feel, and the 10 of Pentacles, so I feel like something is wrapping up and coming to a conclusion in September that is going to allow some movement with that Chariot. But again, overall, there's a lot of 5 energy here. So there's a lot taking place in terms of making some significant changes. There is no real win in this particular scenario. It looks like there is, sorry guys, a lot of the heavier energy, again, with the 5 of Swords, the 10 of Wands, and the, well, even though the 10 is still a conclusive energy, that is more positive here with the 9 and the 10, bringing about wish fulfillment. But it's almost like there is something that would make you happy that is at a bit of a stalemate, or a decision has to be made, and a decision is going to be made for sure here because of the Chariot. But it feels like there's just, again, more of a war of words, a splitting of a decision. Somebody is not really seeing your side of it, so it's kind of a crossroads. You're at a crossroads in terms of bringing something forward that would really make you happy, or that would add to a scenario around the family or your stability, that kind of thing. And that seems to be something that's in question. That seems to be something where there is tradition involved here, and certainly something around stability, that kind of thing. And a conventional way of thinking is also being challenged in some way. So I still feel that you would benefit from some level of tradition here, because there seems to be a lot of cards around that. But I would say that something around tradition is not being valued, whether on your part or somebody else's part. But there's definitely something in around a relationship conflict. So when I get into, and again, I should just throw in there, I mean, if it helps to, seek out information or advice around a particular situation that may already be a little unstable, doing some research on how to deal with that, online or otherwise, or counseling, that kind of thing might be to your advantage. But something that you have to find ways to re-energize yourself, or, connect yourself back to you and your values, to be able to act from a place of integrity. And I feel like that's really what has to happen here, because again, the fact is there is some movement taking place in around a long-term situation. Okay, so I want to get into the 10 of Pentacles. I'm just kind of bouncing around here a little bit, but the 10 of Pentacles with that 10 of Wands, I feel like your stability, like I said, and your sense of security is kind of, where there is an issue. Again, it's something around your family or your structure, anything that, indicates there's something of a foundation, something that offers you security in the real world, something that is more on the sense of, your security is being threatened in some way, and this is why there is sort of an imbalance of that energy here, because you're not agreeing with someone, or someone's not agreeing with you in the way that something is moving forward. So this is a challenge, again, more so feels to me in relationships or a long-term commitment. But again, it's, thinking of collaborative solutions is not really going to be the situation here. So I feel like you're going to have to act a lot more independently in the month of September, to be able to overcome this situation and, create some kind of valuable insight. But overall, like I said, you will figure out a solution. But I mean, if you can figure out a solution, by way of doing the research before something kind of happens, you generally, when there is an issue that's arising, it's not because it's something new and fresh. It's usually because it's something that has never or has not been really resolved in the long term. So I would say that this is going to be something that's maybe arising again. So that's why I say, if you can do the research or try to work with the energy before this actually takes place, I think that would be to your advantage, because it looks like you might have to act a little independently of the situation and able to resolve it for this month. Because again, Hierophant is that card of, dealing with structures. And I feel like that level of conformity or way of thinking is going to be to your advantage. And it feels like you need to do some quick thinking in regards to whatever the scenario is. So whatever, everybody's going to have a different situation, but again, I feel like how it really works in terms of energy is, I feel that as a Libra, you're all going to be going through a version of this scenario, but it will resonate differently because you're each on your own path that's unique to you. But again, the energy is still present in a particular area. And so, like I said, back into the Nine of Swords, it's going to mean different things to you depending on your individual situation. And again, a lot of the surrounding cards here, like I said, is speaking to me that you need to be more open-minded, but, also delving into areas where you can get some deeper knowledge to, put your decisions into an action that will help you to move forward with more clarity, because it feels like you're heavily stressed here and almost creating a scenario with, where you feel trapped is what I would say there. With that Eight of Swords, I feel like you're feeling trapped by a situation, as though you can't move forward because it's introduced a certain level of conflict that, feels a little paralyzing in some way. And again, when it's followed by the Three of Swords, there's some heartbreak involved. There's something here that is causing you a level of immobility. And that's why I say, you really have to be in touch with yourself to be able to free yourself from this scenario, because there's a level of strategy that's required. And certainly with the Three of Swords, this is, heartbreak and representing pain and conflict. Anything along that line could even be a certain level of grief or something over a scenario. Could be related to a breakup or a conflict of some sort on that basis, but it's almost like you have to consider a situation, this heartache, before you can move on. And again, I feel like you are feeling the restriction. You're the one that's feeling powerless in this situation because you're holding on to or being confronted with some kind of self-limiting belief of some sort. And this could be around a toxic relationship, or at least a very unstable one where there's, never really maybe healing a situation, more along the lines of power struggles. There's a lot of uncomfortable emotions here, and there would be a lot of steps toward healing is what I would say here. So whether this is an old situation that keeps reemerging, or whether this is a newer situation that's a trigger point for someone, I do feel like this heartache or this emotional turmoil, this feeling trapped in a situation, it's self-imposed to a certain degree, so it is still within your control. It's not something I feel that is directly impacting you, something coming in to disrupt it. There could be a trigger point of something that is causing the situation, but it still feels like you're going to be able to break free from this limitation or this situation, in that same period, because that Nine of Cups energy is, I'm back in that space of feeling happy and connected, getting something out of it that I want. But again, there was some kind of negotiation that was required, or at least it was a stalemate where both parties never really won, but we've agreed to come back into this space of reconnection. So that's kind of what I'm getting there in regard to an emotional state. It just feels like, there's a certain resilience and a power through pain and adversity, but it's and able to confront your fears. You have to kind of introduce more information, not just a process of going through lots of emotion. It's about finding what's underneath it so that you can make some personal growth and actually gain an advantage in a situation. More of an individual process than a group situation, but it's whatever it takes to get you into that space of being more self-aware so you don't have to repeat a scenario. And that can be really transformative in itself. But to me, I don't know that I see a real transformation taking place so much as there's been sort of an agreement to agree to disagree. Something along that line is what I would say is happening in the month of September. Again, like Nine of Cups, again, is a super, it's a great card for something that you consider is your wish fulfillment, or something that you consider is, that makes you happy at a very deep level. is still quite significant here. But again, with that Two of Swords, it feels like there's a bit of a compromise that's required, enable for something to move it ahead and find real joy in a situation again, or find that real level of happiness. There's also, again, with that Nine of Cups, that sense of, I don't want to say necessarily indecision, but there is a certain level of indecision, but I feel like it's more agree to disagree, in whatever the state of that relationship or that connection is. So, I feel like both parties maybe feel torn, and there's not really any complete resolve, as I said, but I feel like that it's bringing something back to that comfort zone again, and able for you to go forward. And again, it feels like it's, I don't want to say, because when you get to the Ten of Pentacles, again, Nine of Cups, Ten of Pentacles, Chariot, with the Wheel of Fortune card, amazing energy. So it really somehow turns around in your favor, even though there's no direct win in the situation. Somehow there's been some level of compromise to set this conflict or this heartbreak aside. So again, I don't know that the issue has been fully dealt with, but it certainly looks as though there is energy around, complete happiness here. Something that is really bringing about a level of satisfaction. I would say kind of conquering energy here as well with that Chariot, because there is a direction. You're moving in the direction of happiness versus all of this energy, which is probably for the most, good chunk of the month. But at the end, it really results in, judgment sort of being toward you're moving in the only direction that you see as viable. And that's family peace, inner happiness, that kind of thing. But these two cards together really impact the reading, as does the Chariot as well as the Wheel of Fortune. So again, in September, I feel like you are at the very end of the month likely to feel more of that emotional fulfillment, more of that overall satisfaction, and that is hopeful. That is encouragement right there. I do feel like there is positivity and a lot more joy in your life by the end of the month. So again, this could even be sort of a family gathering or moving toward something along that line as well. Maybe there's a car drive or something that's involved here as well. But either way, there is sort of that message of some aspect of a dream or a goal is being met, and it certainly looks to be more of a long-term sort of scenario. It does look, especially with these two cards together, it's emphasizing material security and happiness. There's a level of abundance here, as I said, so it's something that is more of a prosperous future for you to look forward to in this direction here, especially with the Chariot coming through. This is continuing to work toward those goals with persistence and a lot of determination. So I feel like it's equally important to have both, emotional satisfaction as well as, stability in the, with your security. I feel like that's what's important to you. I do feel like there's been a bit of a cost involved here, though, again, because when we get to the Ten of Pentacles, that is still a level of somebody's had to really invest a fair amount of commitment into something, especially when we get to the Ten of Wands. That's an indicator that it's been at a certain level of sacrifice, and there's been a lot of deeper awareness that has, you've had to come to on a personal level, because there's a lot of responsibility that's involved in this type of action. So somebody's taking on a lot of responsibility, and maybe that's what the conflict is all about, more responsibility that is falling more so on one person versus another. So that level of responsibility and hard work and, heavy burden, that kind of thing, is, where goals are not being prioritized by another or considered by another. And so there's a significant amount of weight on one person over another in working toward a specific goal. Maybe you're both not on par, or, all parties in the family or whatever are not on, have the same wish fulfillment or goal achievement or level of going in the same direction. And so therefore that's where the downside comes to things where you have a lot of conflict. and is trying to find a happy medium between all the situations, because success in a lot of ways can be a burden, but it can also be an invigorating experience if you are able to balance out some of those key responsibilities. Delegating for sure, one of them. And again, maybe trying to find true happiness and fulfillment in the moment versus like enjoying the journey, versus having expectation of those around you to participate in the whole of, what kind of success or prosperity that you're trying to maintain or achieve. So again, feels like more of an independent kind of situation in terms of bringing about this level of happiness. I don't feel like maybe the responsibilities are equally divided, but again, your interactions will matter. You can choose to gain assistance through other people versus those that you currently rely on, unable to achieve something so as to avoid this kind of conflict. Or you can, again, try to anticipate what's going to happen here and sort of make the best of a situation. So that's kind of the energy that I would say you're working with in the month of September. So it's still very fortuitous. It's still moving in a positive direction. Again, more so at the end of the month. You do have luck on your side. You do have success in your favor here with the Chariot, as well as that Wheel of Fortune energy. They all speak to progress and having a certain level of control or movement, in a situation. And it definitely speaks to a lot of determination, courage, strength, that kind of thing that's coming through. By the end of that month, I feel like you're back to feeling much more focused on your goal, and there's a lot more drive toward an ambition. So again, with that Wheel of Fortune, there is still something that's coming through here that's giving you hope. There is going to be, a turn of the wheel in your favor. It's a significant change that's about to happen here by the end of September, and it is a cycle of positive change. So again, this is almost, I don't know if I see it as enterprising energy, but it's a direction that you're choosing that's quite powerful, and it's something that is a cycle that is going to offer a lot of powerful change with it, with that Wheel of Fortune as well as the Chariot. Again, it's whatever the change is, it's quite a significant level of happiness and abundance and security that's associated with it. So whatever you're doing, don't fear taking control of the situation, instead of battling it out with other parties that might be, reacting to your process, because not everybody's going to understand the situation or understand the factors involved. And I think you're putting yourself through more difficulty when you could, strategize and get a lot more assistance in a scenario instead of battling something uphill. Because the Seven of Swords, like I said, that is a card of strategy and trying to get clear on, how you can proceed. But the level of warring words here and that level of conflict, you can save yourself the heartache and the damaging words and the damage to relationship if you can try to anticipate what the argument or that fight could be around and try to operate a little more independently in the month of September. Again, I still feel like there's going to have to be something, and maybe there is some kind of sneakiness that's going on here that is causing this heartache where you're really disappointed in someone. And I don't want to say react less necessarily, but look for ways to kind of extrapolate yourself from the situation so as to deal with it independently instead of dealing with the person head on, because that dishonesty or deception, if that is your case, isn't on you to figure out. Somebody had their own reasons for doing it. That is on them. So that's not something for you to figure out why. It's more about reflecting on your own level of betrayal or hurt and the disappointment that you feel, and how you can confront that unsettled discomfort. Like, how can you overcome that level of, or a level of betrayal or heartache, that distrust? How can you overcome that? So if you were presented with a situation, hypothetically, if you think about sort of the ABC points, different scenarios, how can you calm yourself down? I remember reading something, it was one of the podcasts I had listened to. I've forgotten her name. She was really impactful and I loved her, but I'm just blanking on the name. But anyway, she said basically, she was using it in a different scenario, but she was basically saying stop. You say stop. Whenever you're in this mode to approach something in a very conflicting way, you say stop, take some space, count backwards, something along that line, and really try to deal with the problem head on internally, before the truth really comes to light here, So if there is a level of deception, or you're, presented with a situation where somebody who's less than honest, or there's a certain level of betrayal, or even if this is a past betrayal that you're dealing with, this combination, again, is still really, those kinds of things have to be dealt with on an internal basis. So it's more about separating yourself from the scenario so that you don't have to deal with the conflict and all the reasons why someone has done something, and just focus on your own personal happiness and your own goals going forward. Because it's one thing to present an issue, it's another thing to add to a scenario that's already generating a certain level of animosity. If someone doesn't want to deal with a certain situation, which is kind of what I see here with the Two of Swords, you're not going to be able to get the truth out of the situation, even though you're seeking truth. And I think sometimes some people don't really know the truth of that situation. Sometimes a betrayal happens as a self-preservation technique. Sometimes they're stuck or caught in a mode and they don't know how to go forward in a certain way. But again, I feel like you're in that place of reevaluating things here and sort of trying to release and renew after this level of heartbreak again. And again, that's an individual journey, because again, if somebody else hasn't gone through the process and hasn't dealt with enough of their own deeper issues, you're not going to be able to find the truth, because they're not ready to accept it. They're not ready to discipline themselves emotionally to get into that. So you want to keep your foundation solid. You want to keep things moving forward for yourself, because all the stagnant conflict and disagreement in this area is not going to serve you over the long haul, because it takes a certain amount of energy and focus away from a particular goal. And again, Seven of Swords energy is maybe again dealing with a certain level of insincerity, but don't compromise your level of integrity. Doesn't mean you have to challenge somebody. It's just that there is some conflicted feelings here that are involved. And whether you feel like you've been duped in some way, just, it's more about restructuring the plan. And again, it's more of a mental preparedness and planning that's required here. So I feel in September you have some transition mentally to go through and able to overcome this situation. So whether you're feeling taken advantage of here with that Seven of Swords or not, I feel like you can outsmart the situation by guarding against being too paranoid, having a better plan for being diplomatic in a situation, creating a strategy so that you can take decisive action, clear thinking, that kind of thing. So even if you have someone that is working against you, that doesn't seem to be something that's going to change in life. It seems like everybody is on this journey of trying to gain something out of their life, whether that's respect, whether that's happiness, whether that's stability, whether that's success, whatever that is for you. It's you're always going to run up against some kind of opposition where somebody else feels like you're taking something away from them, and that's not, of course, the reality behind a situation. But when the level of options seem very narrow, the person could see it that way. So I feel like you can get yourself out of this feeling of conflict and stuck and betrayal and manipulation, all of that. You can get yourself out of that. You don't need to do battle, you just need to focus, because all of this energy over here is unfocused mental conflict around a long-term relationship. And again, institutional of some sort. Maybe some of you on a work front are dealing with the same kind of scenario where you're being triggered to think the worst, whatever. But again, it all seems to be still within your control. I don't feel like any outside source is directly impacting this. It feels like it's more around your mental space that is allowing yourself to feel imprisoned or bound in some way. So you're convincing yourself of this situation and making maybe more of a mountain out of a molehill. I'm not saying that there wasn't some kind of level of distrust or situation that is causing some anxiety, but I definitely feel like your level of frustration can be dealt with before it actually happens, because I feel like it's still within your control. So whether you feel restricted in some way, I feel like if you were to, in the month of August, kind of get everything organized and focus on your own truth, so to speak, I feel like you will have some end to this negative cycle in the beginning of September. Anyway, that's what I have for you for September. And again, the amazing end, that really tops this off is well worth the level of, frustration and refocus that you are going to be challenged by, because the level of happiness that goes with this direction. And again, you could be dealing with a Cancer sign here more specifically for some of you. But again, whatever that is for you, I feel like you're being pulled into a direction that's going to require a lot of self-discipline, and you are definitely into that space because it's well worth it. It's your ultimate happiness. It's the ultimate security. It is the ultimate luck that goes with this push to, get you into creating something that's around your destiny, is what I would say. And again, I feel like you still have a lot of strong foundation, but it is a card of self-control. And so wherever you didn't have the self-control in the beginning of September, I feel by the end of September, you end up with self-control. You have somehow managed to pull this off and get back onto the self-discovery journey. This is purposeful action. It is moving forward. It is strong determination, things taking a positive turn that lead you to a sense of control. It's all of those things. So this implies some kind of a balance, and you've endured through the difficulty. The other part, again, with the Wheel of Fortune, speaks to the good luck that may be a little further out here, because it is more of the clarifier, but it is still a card indicating that you're on your way. And again, Ten of Pentacles, you're on your way to your ultimate happiness, your ultimate success, and a good amount of money that's associated with this journey. So, and luck is on your side. You do have the ability to make this happen. That Wheel of Fortune energy is the luck coming in the month of September to help turn this around and move it in your favor. So stay focused. Do not let yourself get caught up in all this energy over here, because this is not where you are to be focusing. You're to be focusing on the goal. You're to be focusing on the end result. What is it? It's reminding yourself your question, why? Why am I doing this? You're doing it because it provides some sense of security or some kind of an outlet for yourself, and this is a growth path. So again, the Chariot connected to the Wheel of Fortune, this is luck riding with you, and it definitely is some kind of unexpected change that may be coming through here as well, and it is requiring you to maybe even implement some kind of a new belief system around it. But at this point, I feel like you've just chosen a direction, and the luck is going to ride with you so that you can make this go in this direction, because it is a life purpose direction, is what I would say there. Anyway, some really amazing cards. Like I said, Wheel of Fortune. I think something's going to shock you by the end, that it is, it's a turning point in your life, and it's really going to make a significant difference by the end of September. So keep me informed, Libra. Keep moving forward. Never give up. Stay focused. Stay out of this energy.